will discuss the main areas of sociocultural theory. There are two forms of interaction with SC theory: intrapersonal and interpersonal. Intrapersonal is any interaction within the person, such as inner speech or private speech. Interpersonal is any interaction that is done between another person or a group. Another key aspect is zone of proximal development, or ZPD. ZPD says that the learner is the blue circle in the middle. This represents what he knows. Now the bigger circle is potential knowledge the learner can achieve if he receives help from an expert or someone more knowledgeable. One other element to SC theory is scaffolding. Scaffolding is assistance students receive to help them with learning.
What is economics? The typical first-year student walks into his first economics class with very little idea of what economics is. He might have heard something like, economics is the study of money, or economics is another word for accounting, or economics is hard, don't take that class. But none of those are true. Economics is the study of the use of scarce resources that have alternative uses. That's the classic definition of economics. Basically, there are people, and people need resources to fulfill their desires. These resources cannot be infinite, but the desires can be, so people need to make choices about how to use their scarce resources. Economists study these choices. All economic questions fall into one of two categories: positive and normative. Positive economics describes what is, and normative economics argues for what ought to be. So a question like, why do people use money, is a positive question, and should people use money is a normative question. A general rule of thumb is that if your economic model has no value judgments, it's positive economics. Whereas if it does have value judgments, it's normative economics, since to tell someone what he ought to do, you first have to judge what is best for him. Economics is also divided into microeconomics and macroeconomics. Microeconomics studies the behavior of individual agents and markets, while macroeconomics studies the behavior of the entire economy. Economists also have their own branch of statistics called econometrics that specialize to analyzing economic data. Since economic data usually comes from the real world and not from controlled experiments, econometrics faces mathematical challenges that other fields might not. The tools economists have developed to study human behavior have broad uses outside of what we would traditionally consider economics. Economists study not only markets, but things like crime, war, the family, religion, culture, politics, law, and even genetics. That's why it's not unusual to see papers by psychologists, sociologists, criminologists, political scientists, anthropologists, biologists, neuroscientists, or legal scholars being co-authored by economists.
To politics. Politics is the study of power, but a special kind of power. The power that humans exert over one another. A cannon may be powerful, but its power is only physical until a human takes control. It's then the cannon's power turns from physical to political. Politics as a discipline asks questions about power, what it is, who should have it, and under what conditions. When should it be exercised, in what way, and for whom? Is it more important that it is fair or effective? If you wonder why it is important to know about power, just consider how you're watching this video. Your device was made by workers who are being told what to do by their companies, which were following the laws set down by countries, which are living side by side with other nations in the dangerous international system. It's possible to argue that power, not glass or plastic, was perhaps this device's most important component. The analysis of power in the form of political theory was born in ancient Greece. Aristotle's Politics contains the famous line, "Man is a political animal," meaning that it is our nature to live in societies and to have power over one another. But how we arrange these things, Aristotle says, is up to us. Thucydides' history of the Peloponnesian War began a rather different tradition. He looked at the realities of power relations between states, writing, "The strong do what they will, the weak suffer what they must." And so a division was born that still lasts to this day, between theorists of domestic politics, building a land of rules, and theorists of international relations, charting what seems to be an anarchy, a world where there is no acknowledged leadership and no guaranteed recourse to law. Over a millennium later, the birth of liberalism changed the face of political thinking forever. Social contract theorists such as Thomas Hobbes, John Locke, and Jean-Jacques Rousseau thought about how power was wielded in their societies, in which kings claimed it was their right to govern. They argued that government is only legitimate if the people want to be controlled. In effect, these thinkers flipped the political world on its head. Governments, they argued, have no automatic right to govern. Rather, the people have a right to be governed in the manner of their choosing. This liberal conception of power relations defines much of our world even today. Or does it? Politics is at its most interesting when it is in debate, and the McCat Library contains dozens of examples of authors who went head-to-head with one another. Thomas Paine's The Rights of Man and Edmund Burke's Reflections on the Revolution in France reflect two different perspectives on the core ideas of liberal thought and ask, are the people really the ultimate sovereign force in the land? We also examine two contrasting visions of the world in the wake of the Cold War. Francis Fukuyama's The End of History foresaw a liberal world order, united in prosperity and peace. Samuel Huntington's Clash of Civilizations predicted a world resentful of the seeming triumph of liberalism and more prone to conflict than ever. Taken together, these analyses and others in the library tell the story not only of the rise of liberalism, but also of the challenges to its predominance. You'll find path-breaking theoretical analyses in the McCat Library. Politics Among Nations and the Theory of International Politics invented the study of international relations in the 20th century. Scholars of international relations are interested in understanding the fundamental forces that shape international politics. They attempt to be scientists in the tradition of Thucydides, trying to develop predictive theories based on real evidence.